Well, it's a change of venue for me today. This is my fifth LinkedIn Live, and today I'm discussing what to look for when recruiting bid staff. I'm in the very enjoyable surroundings today of the Kimpton Charlotte Square Hotel in Edinburgh. I'm conducting some business meetings in Edinburgh today, and it's great to be here. Today I'm going to talk about the skills, the qualifications and the attributes that you should look for when looking for various levels of bid staff. This actually follows on from the LinkedIn Live that I did yesterday about the bid team roles, who does what. I'm going to cover each of the roles that I mentioned yesterday. I'm going to now talk about the skills, the qualifications, the attributes that the post holders would need to have, what to look for when recruiting bid staff. As always, it would be great to see your reactions or your comments, and happy as well if these come on afterwards too for people who are watching this on a catch-up broadcast. So recruiting bid staff is never very easy. Working in bids can be fairly niche. It's better to view bidding as a profession, and at AM Bid we are very much in favour of the APMP, the Association of Professional Management of Proposal Management Professionals, and that is our certifying body. We can get qualifications through that. So looking for members of APMP is good, or if you're taking people at entry level, looking to get them qualified through APMP when they've got sufficient experience to be able to go for the qualifications. So starting with the bid coordinator, bid executive role. This role tends to be the most junior one within the bid team, but it is very important. Like so much involved in bidding, you're looking for people who have got attention to detail. I remember for some reason I asked a question about strengths and weaknesses one time at a job interview that I was conducting, and the person said that their weakness was attention to detail. Now, that was actually a showstopper for working in bidding, because bidding is something where attention to detail is vital. Missing a small detail, even in the qualification stages of a can mean that all the work that has been done can be for nothing because of lack of attention to detail. So that particular interview candidate, I had to stop the interview, and I said to him, there are some jobs where attention to detail is perhaps less important. However, bidding is not one of them. And therefore, I couldn't have somebody in my bid team who had admitted at a job interview that he lacked attention to detail. So that is something that's important. What you also want to get for your bid coordinator or bid executive, you want to have somebody who is perhaps going to pass a written skills test. I do believe in testing people that are coming into bid teams. I believe in giving them a test that's representative of what is going to be looked for within the role. So perhaps it might be a bit of a kind of entry exercise that you would run, asking them to prioritize various things to see what they would do. It would also be good to be doing literacy and numeracy testing as well, because these attributes or these skills, let's say, are going to be important. As far as the attributes, bidding is often a team game, let's say. It's important that they're able to work with the other team members who are involved. They may be in a bit of a coordinating role, so they're bringing together some of the various parts that are involved within the bid. So a good team player. You want communication skills as well. Important that they can communicate effectively in all the different ways that working in bidding, we need to communicate. So much is virtual now, with so much remote and home working at the moment. So communication skills have never been more vital than because we're not always face-to-face with people. So the written communication has got to be succinct, it's got to be clear, but they also have to be good verbally. They've got to be prepared to lift up the phone and maybe chase somebody for information that is required, but do this in a friendly way. But at the same time, they've got to be somebody who does have the courage where necessary to take things to a higher level within the bid team if they're not getting the cooperation that they need. Any kind of bid support role as well, then that supportive element is important. Thinking about bid teams, it can be sometimes helpful to do personality profiling, either at the interview stage or after the person has joined the team. So as you understand, whether it's something like DISC or insights profiling, that you're understanding the sort of person that is going to be working with you and their preferred kind of communication and working styles as well. So as you understand their place within the team and how you can work effectively with them. In these bid support roles as well, it's important that they have your back. So if you're the bid manager, the senior bid manager, the head of bids, the people that are supporting you in the exec, the coordinating or the bid support roles, that they really feel this sense of ownership, the ownership for the team, the ownership for the business, doing the right thing. They would certainly not be happy if information wasn't coming in on time or coming in to the required standard. And they want everything that is going out from the business to be reflecting the high standards that you're looking for. Turning now to a very key role as well is the bid or proposal writer. So needless to say, strong written skills are vital. And at AM Bid, we actually provide written skills tests. We give a 90-minute exercise where the candidate has to look at an invitation to tender, has to look at a response, perhaps 30-page response, and then they've got to create a compelling 2-page executive summary and do all of that in 90 minutes. Now, occasionally you get a candidate who says, well, I don't work like that. I'm not able to do that. So sometimes an interview has terminated, even though they've known ahead of time that that was required. They perhaps felt that they weren't up to it. Well, do you know what? You've dodged a bullet there, because it's far better that you find out that a person can't cope with perhaps working to a tight deadline, working at some speed, being able to assimilate a lot of information in a short space of time, because all of these are skills that are needed by bid writers. The bid or proposal writer needs to be somebody who is curious. So they'd be asking the why question a lot, the how questions when they're discussing things with subject matter experts. So they're not content with just information that is provided to them, but instead they are highly focused on thinking about the end buyer, the client that you're bidding to, what the hot buttons are, what the win themes for the bid are, what the points of differentiation are, how you can get across your USPs. Curiosity is going to help them, because they're going to be asking questions aimed at getting to the nub of things, so as they can then write about this in a compelling way. They also need to be somebody who is tenacious as well, because quite often subject matter experts are very busy. They're very busy with the day job. They don't always see the importance of a bid, or if they do, they've got other urgent work. So the bid writer has got to be tenacious and be prepared to think outside the box, perhaps providing people with other opportunities to deliver information. It could be that it's going to be by telephone, or by getting an audio file, perhaps by coming to where they're working, and at the moment where it's safe to do so, by spending a bit of time interviewing them there, perhaps, and being prepared to do that, being shoehorned in sometimes between other meetings, and being prepared to just spend the time in doing what they need to do to get the information that they need. And of course, the information doesn't just come from the subject matter experts within the organisation. There's going to be a lot of research done, both into the information that the client has supplied in the invitation to tender documents or the RFP request that has come through. There would also be somebody who's going to look at what publicly information is available about the client, what is on their website. If it's in the public sector, you're looking at committee papers, board papers, information that's available in the public domain. If it's in the private sector, you're looking at annual reports or reviews. You're looking at their websites as well. Needless to say, communication skills have to be strong here too. Attention to detail has to be strong here too. These are themes that we keep coming back to within bids. Attention to detail and strong written and verbal communication skills. Also, the importance of being a good team player. Let's move on now to the bid manager or proposal manager. So this broadcast today is what to look for when recruiting bid staff. And I'm taking you through the various bid staff that can exist within bid teams and just what you need to look for. So your bid manager is somebody that has got some experience around bids, or certainly around the organisation, around project management. So a good project manager will in many ways make a good bid manager, provided that they understand the nuances involved. One of the main things that the bid manager understands is that deadlines, client-imposed or buyer-imposed deadlines, these deadlines often cannot be moved. Sometimes extensions will be given to clarification deadlines or submission deadlines, but you can never bank on being able to get deadlines extended, and nor does the well-organised business and bid team want to be necessarily looking for a deadline extensions. So while a project manager perhaps could be used to adjusting deadlines sometimes deadlines within projects can be adjusted. Within bidding, they can only be adjusted if you have the buyer's permission, and that is not always easy to get. So because the deadlines are fixed, you must get your bid in by Wednesday the 5th of August at 12 noon. Then everything you're doing in bid management has to be working towards that, and not just getting it in at 12 noon. You want to get it in the previous afternoon usually as well. So what you don't want is you don't want the organisation and different members within it all working at the last minute and leaving this very hassled bid manager who has to try and make sure everything gets brought together on time. The bid manager in an organisation is somebody who's got to have his or her attention to detail, to understand the deadlines, to also clearly understand everything that has got to be submitted. You know, for example, is it a wet signature? Is it an email signature? Who is going to be signing? Are the people available? What are the sign-offs within the organisation to actually get the bid submitted? There's lots of skills that this person's got to have. They have to be highly organised. They've also got to understand the organisation, and also anybody else that's involved as well. It could be that there's subcontractors who've got to supply information as well. All of this information's got to be marshalled together, and it's got to be organised. So these are the sort of skills that the bid manager needs to have. They've also got to be courageous within the organisation, because there's going to be times when things are falling behind. They cannot lose control of this. They've got to be prepared to escalate where needed. They've got to do what's needed, not just to get the bid submitted on time, but to get as best an opportunity or prospect as possible of that bid winning. They've got to understand what's needed for a winning bid and be prepared to agitate within their organisation to get it moved. It brings us to the senior bid manager role. The senior bid manager will be managing a number of bid managers, and they've got to be somebody who is, again, a good communicator. They've got to understand the detail of things. They've got to be motivational to the various bid managers and teams that they have working for them. They've got to be political with a small p. They've got to be somebody that knows their way around the organisation. They've got to know the various stakeholders involved and understand when things need to be escalated. Understand that they're going to be thinking about the key performance indicators for the bid teams, the success rates, the profitability of the bids and proposals for the organisation. They've got to have their mind on the resources that are needed as well, both in people and budgets as well, if they're, managing the bid budgets as well, and sometimes reporting in, if the organisation has got it, to the head of bids. Once we get to the head of bids, we're starting to get into the real leadership roles within organisations. So the head of bids, as the name suggests, is somebody who's got oversight over the bidding function within an organisation. So the head of bids understands clearly the importance of bidding for the organisation. They will have a clear handle on what to bid and what not to bid. I did a broadcast last week on how to create a bid, no bid decision tool. And this is something that the head of bids would make sure was going on within the organisation. Now, of course, it might be that you are a much smaller organisation that doesn't have, a large or multi-layered or multi-geography bid teams. It could be, it's a very small bidding function within your organisation. But what I'm talking about, the sort of disciplines, the sort of skills, the sort of attributes, even if one or two or just a few people are handling all the bids, they'll have to somehow combine all of this, because they'll also be bidding sometimes up against organisations that have got professional bid teams. And of course, if you don't have a professional bid team in your organisation, then that's an opportunity that you can use to bring in a specialist, bidding organisation like AMBid. And of course, there are others as well. And you can have the benefits of a professional bid team without having the salary, only paying for them when you actually need them. But by doing that, you can obviously improve your bid success chances. The head of bids is going to be very performance focused, somebody that knows their way very much around the organisation, somebody who is the face of bidding within the organisation, respected person, somebody who is slightly feared as well, because they are going to have the ear of the senior decision makers. They will often just be able to go and speak to one of the directors or even the managing director or chief executive of an organisation and put their hand up and say, help. I'm not getting all the support. My teams are not getting all the support that we need to actually make this bid successful. This bid has a high chance of failure if the organisation doesn't get more behind it. So they are somebody that's able to operate in this manner, and because they are known to have the ear of the senior decision makers, it should be enough if the head of bids has to get in touch with somebody and say, look, we need your information, we need it coming in a timely manner, we need it coming into a high quality, then that person is going to be listened to. Now, of course, it makes sense if the head of bids is somebody who has worked their way up through the bidding ranks, somebody who understands bidding. but certainly even if they had not worked their way up through the bidding ranks, they'd be somebody who'd have a clear understanding of the importance of bids to an organisation, and they would look to get themselves as close to the bid teams and the bid functions as they could, so as they understand they are going to be responsible as well with the line managers of bids for making sure that the team are developed, making sure that team members are given sufficient training, not just for the roles that they have at the moment, but for where the organisation may want them to go in their career, or where the person wants to go in their career. So quite a lot sitting on the head of bids, and of course the organisation's success or failure in bidding will in some ways be attributed to the success of the head of bids in that role. It's important though that the head of bids is able to articulate what else is going on. So for example, do they have the pricing function within their ambit, or is that sitting perhaps separately in a commercial section or a finance department? But it's vital that the head of bids has got close links with the commercial organisation, because they're going to have a real part to play in the success of the bids as well. We'll turn to the bid director now. Probably the most senior bid person within the organisation. So the bid director is going to be on bids where they're directing, they're the controlling mind of the bid. So the bid director is going to be a very experienced person. They're somebody who has been around bids usually for quite a number of years. They are somebody who is, as I said, going to be the controlling mind of the bid. So they have to really have a proper handle on win strategies. They've got to own the win strategy, and that win strategy would also include the commercial strategy as well. They've got to be a capture professional, somebody who really understands what is needed to actually win this bid. They would be somebody who would have broad experience as well. They would, with the head of bids, own the whole bid, no bid function within the organisation. But they would be, the bid director as well, as somebody who would also be a bit external facing, as probably so should the head of bids be as well. They are people that would be going to bidding conferences. They would be going to maybe sector industry events. They would be somebody who would be known within the industry, within the sector, somebody respected, who could be respected not only by the organisation and its staff, but if they were going along to any client pitches, they'd be somebody that would be able to lead on that, or at least be very supportive of any operational or business leads that were there at the presentations. I'm now going to talk about what I believe is the highest level in bidding, and that's the bid specialist or the bid expert. While these people could be sitting within the organisation, perhaps as a bid director, it's more likely that they are externally facing, that they are an individual who is working for an organisation, perhaps one like AM Bid, that is a bid specialist consultancy. Now this bid expert is somebody that has got broad and deep experience, usually over many years in bidding, usually has worked in a number of different sectors, and for organisations of different sizes, has been bidding to different types of clients, and can just bring a whole breadth and depth and range. They're somebody who publishes articles, perhaps somebody who does videos, somebody who shares their expertise and demonstrates that as well. They are a thought leader. They have got their finger on the pulse very much of what is going on, but they're also horizon scanning right into the future. They're looking, for example, just now they'll be thinking about that, in December the 31st, it's the end of the current trading arrangements with the European Union. So what effect is any trade deal going to have within the organisation, within its services, within the costs? What about things like currency fluctuations? So if they're advising an organisation, they'd be talking about, think about all of this, factor it in. You might be submitting a bid just now before any terms of a trade deal are known, but this bid is maybe going in for 3 or 4 years. So how are you factoring in any risk that's involved, maybe access to perhaps European national labour? It's all things that maybe have to be thought about within your sector. So this is where you can get the benefit of specialist expertise as well. If you're bidding in Scotland or bidding to Scotland, it's possible there'll be another referendum. So again, you need to be thinking about that and what impact that could have on the bid that is being submitted. So there's real benefits that an organisation can get if they're doing everything at the moment in-house, just to sometimes getting a bid specialist involved, an external person who can just come in and cast an eye over what you're doing, yes, identify perhaps some training needs or any issues that could exist there, but also just give you an edge within your bids as well. So opportunities to do that. So if I can summarise the main skills and attributes that are needed in bidding, I've not really spoken a lot about qualifications. I think it's good if people are graduates, if they've done that amount of studying and they've been able to evidence that they can follow a study programme and present information in an organised and disciplined manner. However, they're very good examples of people that are successful in bidding who haven't graduated, so the door is certainly not closed. But whether you're a graduate or not, it'd be good to be doing continuous professional development and looking at your skills and actively seeking training. But to summarise the main skills, attention to detail, definitely very important within bidding. Communication skills, important too. Project management skills, because bids are essentially mini or sometimes quite large projects. And also bidding is generally a team game. There's usually more than one person involved in submitting a bid from an organisation, so vital that you are able to work well with colleagues too. I've not said anything about them being prepared to work long hours, because hopefully that shouldn't be needed too often if bids are being done in an organised, disciplined way and resources are being allocated to them. But you know what? Sometimes there is lastminute.com stuff. Sometimes there is long hours working, and the person would need to have the resilience to be able to do that. But it's important as well that the organisation doesn't trade on that and look for it too often. So important that we are thinking about looking after the bid staff as well. So remember, of course, that an interview is a two-way exercise, that good bid staff are worth their weight in gold. So you will want to also persuade them why working for your organisation is the right thing to do for them. So I hope you've enjoyed this LinkedIn Live broadcast from the Kimpton Charlotte Square Hotel in Edinburgh today. And tomorrow's broadcast I'm going to be talking about is how to manage a bid effectively. And I'll be broadcasting tomorrow at 12 noon. Thank you for joining me or for listening in.